Why am I changing the oil? Because I've only just changed the oil on this car. Only what, 1,500 miles ago, something like that. Well, firstly, you can't change it too often in a diesel. Secondly, I watched a video recently on YouTube, where you are now, and I found it by the title, which was, what did the thumbnail say? What, is this the worst diesel engine ever? And I thought, oh, okay, so is that going to be some like weird under-square Oldsmobile, aluminium block, iron head, push rods, 3 oval-shaped valves, 1 square one, Siamese ports, got the worst, Siamese ports. Is it going to be one of them? You know, 60 horsepower at 3,000 revs for, you know, and 20 to the gallon. And it went in some, anyway, no, it wasn't that, it was this. The engine and that, the Ford called it Lion, Peugeot Citroen called it the DT17, I think. Land Rover people know it as TDV6, and this was a Land Rover channel. It is the Land Rover channel LR time, which I think means Land Rover time, and nothing to do with Citroens at all, but I saw it and I started watching it, and interesting bit. Basically, it seems to be a guy and his missus films it, and he talks, and he's a German guy who says that everything is like no good if it's not a Toyota. No, that's fair, that's fair. He basically says Land Rovers are rubbish, they're junk, which we knew because we're British, but he loves them regardless. I think, well, that's good, that's good. And he also takes the engineering, the mechanical side of things quite seriously. And he says, he goes into a long video ripping the engine to pieces, talking about why it's absolute junk. I mean, basically, it's predominantly Ford who made it. Peugeot and Citroen, PSA, did have some input, but predominantly it's a Ford lump. It was built in Essex. It was built in Dagenham. Whereas there was some part sharing with Peugeots and Citroens and Fords at the time with diesel engines. The 1600s was kind of like a joint thing. The 1400 and 1600 engine was a joint thing. The 2 litre 2.2, that was more PSA. That was based on what they had already. And then the V6, more Ford, I think it's fair to say. They're all joint enterprises technically, but there are a lot of FOMOCO parts on this and not many FOMOCO parts on a 2 litre. Anyway, we're not talking about the 2 litre, we're talking about this one. This engine's garbage. They snap crankshafts because they're poorly designed and they're made like really narrow, and yeah, all sorts of reasons. So slightly bummed out. I thought, well, what should I do to perk myself up? I know, I'll watch more of his videos. So I watched another one where he said 530 is the enemy, and I thought, I was about to say something, but I had a hiccup. Windy pops. I thought, hang on. Did I just not put 530 in this? And I had the total stuff before that, which wasn't the same rating. This was the better rate. In fact, no, this was C2. I think the total stuff was C3, and as it turns out, C3 is potentially better than, I don't know. Anyway, I watched this video, and he's basically saying 530 is the devil, blah, blah, blah. It's piss water, basically. It's there to make emissions high, because it creates less drag on the engine. No, emissions high, emissions low. It creates less drag for the engine, it's more efficient and everything like that, but it comes at the cost of durability. You know, it's basically letting the engine wear itself out faster to hit all these numbers and tick all these boxes. And I thought, well, that's no good, I don't want that, especially when my crankshaft is made of chocolate. So, he said, you should put 540 in them. And I thought, oh, okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take out the 530, which will come out like water, and I'm going to put in some stuff. Had it sent from the factories. He used Castrol Magnatec, but they're the same sort of thing, basically. The key thing with this, so this is a 540 oil, but not all 540 oils are equal. They're all different these days. And people go, no, you have to make sure you get semi-synthetic. Semi-synthetic and synthetic and mineral was something that people used to get confused about 20 years ago. And now there are multiple grades of 540. Best thing to do is just not talk about oil. Just get what it says in the book. Unless you've got this engine. So, ACEA C3. C3 means it is either, I forget which way around it is, either mid or low SAPS oil, It's to do with the sulfuric ash content, basically for cars that have a DPF. It's crucial. If you don't have one that's got the right grade in the car with a DPF, you can clog it up really fast. So you have to make sure it's C2 or C3. This car would have had C2 listed for it originally, I believe. I could be wrong, I think it was C2, but C3 is a suitable alternative. One is mid-saps, one is low saps. I forget which way around it is, but basically the gist of it is, this guy knows his stuff. He looks after Land Rovers with this engine, and that engine gets a much rougher time in a Land Rover than it does in this. So he's running these things on 540 and he thinks it's great. Bearing in mind she's done 165k nearly, I might try that. So I'm going to put this stuff in, which is basically stuff that Volkswagen use in PD engines, pump juice engines. So we're going to go with that and see what happens. Because I started the engine up on the other video and you can hear that chattering noise, which he talks about, the chattering of death sort of thing. Basically that noise there is a cam chain tensioner which goes between either between the camshafts or between the pump and a camshaft. I can't remember what it is, but basically it's oil pressure driven, so it doesn't take up tension until the engine's circulating oil. So in the meantime there's supposed to be a spring that keeps it out there, so that when you first start it and it doesn't have oil pressure, it's still got enough tension on it to keep the chain tight. That spring wears out over time with mileage and you get a rattle when you first start, and eventually it's going to lead to a problem. But I'm hoping that it's actually, the last couple of days this has been much noisier, so that's not a good sign, but normally it rattles for about 2 or 3 seconds on a cold start, and I'm hoping that this will help, because this is not as thin, it will not drain back out with the tensioner as quickly. That's my thinking. It may not work at all. So basically I am doing an oil change and using parts and oils recommended by someone who doesn't drive one of these cars. It seems a strange thing to do, I know, but oh, see, it is like water. It's so thin. I mean, 540 is only, well, 10 weight, I suppose they would call it, thicker, but ugh, it's horrible. That oil's not even been in there that long. I'm going to leave that out, because what I'm also going to do is get my drain catch tank can thing, put this underneath it, and when I take the oil filter out, a little bit more of this will come out and I will catch it. I feel like I only changed this the other day. You did, Richard. You did change it the other day. Let's see if I can listen out for any more oil hitting the deck. I can. Right, so we're going with this 540 ACEA C3 spec diesel. This is basically the stuff that goes in Volkswagens, the old PD engines, pump juice, I think that stands for. So this is what I'm going to put in. I'm just going on what I saw on that video, to be honest, and he's not responsible at all. You know, I'm a big boy, I make my own decisions, but I just like the cut of his jib, and I like the things he was saying, and what he said made sense. So I think I'm going to try it on this. Oh, that's a lot thicker straight away, you can see it. I mean, as far as brands go, you know, this is Motor Factor stuff. Motor Factor doesn't make the oil. I don't know who makes this one. It'll be Comma or Castrol or whoever makes Granville or whatever. The important thing is it's the right spec. I didn't stretch to racing oil like in the Picasso. Maybe I should have done that. There you go, get in there with the golden goodness. Right, so I need to start the engine. I'm a little nervy of doing this because that exhaust repair I did underneath, I don't know how that's holding up. It's going to have to be done, isn't it? It's more important that the oil gets around the engine. What does it think about the oil level? Oh, oil okay, there we go, right. I'm expecting that noise. Oh, the beep. What was that beep? Hello. That one ended a little bit weirdly. I'm going to get out of the sun. Yes, I'm in the shade. Please excuse this crude ending. Basically, the C6 I was filming 2 videos with it. The first one was going to be the finding the boost leak, which turned out to be an exhaust leak. And the second one was going to be changing the oil in it and putting 540 in it, not 530 like everyone else says. And I had actually planned to get the owner's manual, because it does actually say in there, in some conditions, use 540. But I forgot to do that. That's unfortunate. But it doesn't matter, because I also forgot to turn on the microphone. So the last bit of this video you were expecting, the outro, is just me talking in silence. Look. And also, my hair was longer back then. That's how long ago it was. So, bucket. The C6, yeah, basically did the, well, what I thought was an exhaust leak, and an innocent exhaust leak, but I think there might have been a little bit more to it, bearing in mind the DPF is now blocked. Did the exhaust leak block the DPF, or is the exhaust leaking because the DPF is blocked? And it just luckily found its way through a rusty bit of pipe, because if it hadn't, that could cause some problems. Which means it's been running around with a blocked DPF for a good few months, well, since April, I would think, since I put it back together. So it did the oil change as well, but we never got to test any of it really, because we found out the DPF was blocked later on a drive. Have since been to France, reverted to taking the S-Max, which was the original plan, took it, went round the Nürburgring, which I fully concede is not in France. I know my geography is not amazing, but even I know that's not in France. It would have been the C6, but to be honest, I think the S-Max was the better tool to take round the Nürburgring, and it did just about do the trip without any drama, apart from on the last day. It's fine. So yeah, that is where the C6 is at. It's the oil is done, but now I'm going to have to take the DPF out, and then I'm going to I'll repair those 2 flexi joints that have blown open, and all that malarkey there. But when that will be, I don't know. There's things going on, other jobs I'm doing. I'm very, very, very busy, to the point I'm actually turning down work. I'm now officially turning down new work. And everyone will go, well, that's a good thing. Yeah. So yeah, I'm turning work down because I have to work through this backlog I've got. So yeah, that's where the C6 is at. So thank you for watching anyway. Sorry to end poorly. But yeah, you're now up to speed on the C6. You know, you are as now up to date as I am. Basically, we are now waiting for an opportunity to take it apart again. Such good fun. It's a good job I love driving that car, isn't it? But yeah, right, I'm going home because it's ridiculously hot. Mind you, it is at my house too. I'll go and jump in the sea.